Hey, hi everybody! I hope you're all having a good day. I hope you're all smiling and enjoying your lovely day. So in this following tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you on how to set up custom animations inside of VTuber, as well as also how to convert, your own custom mocap for the VTuber program. So basically, what you see on the left side, this is basically the basic setup for the VTuber animations. Yeah, you can also go quite complicated like this, but just to, keep it simple, we're only going to do this simple setup here. And then I'll show you how to, if you have, like, let's say, for example, there's Mocap animations you want to convert to VTuber, or Perception Neuron mocap, because there is a motion library for Perception Neuron. You can get some mocap for free, as well as Rococo, well, all that other stuff. Basically, just to break it down, FBX format to the VTuber animation format. Pretty much same method. So yeah, pretty much that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be utilizing the VTuber SDK for that. Before we do actually continue on with this tutorial is not recommended for absolute beginners. If you have no idea how to use VTuber, please check out my other VTuber tutorials, especially my ultimate guide and also my basic dedicated node tutorial that kind of helps you out, at least kind of understand nodes and all that. So please make sure you check out those tutorials, and please join Vtubers Discord server. If you really want to become a VTuber expert and understand the VTuber program, then please join Vtubers Discord server. They're all in the description, all the resources that you need, so that way you can familiarize yourself with VTuber, because I know it looks very complicated, looks very scary of a program, but trust me, after you take some time, you might become a master. Or if by any chance you don't like VTuber, it's too complicated for you, there's no problem staying with VTuber. I just want to elaborate that. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to start off though, I want to first of all break down the node. So for anyone who have downloaded a VTuber animation file or VN file, basically if you're very curious on where to put that animation at, pretty much any VN file, they should go into, which I will have video edited here. This is basically the file path where the animation must be at. And I will also mention that in the description below, I am also redistributing some animations as well. So the sitting animation you see here, where I'm able to like toggle different animations here and all that, you can download that for VTuber. Basically, I have plenty others, but I'm not going to go over all of them in this video. Pretty much the animation file in the description speaks for itself. So if by chance you want some free animations, especially I was literally hunting on Mixama for these animations, feel free to download it. You don't have to credit me because these are Mixama animations, so yeah. So have fun with those animations in the description below. But either way though, regardless of that, basically just to break it down for you, this is basically the setup for playing animations. And yes, it can get pretty complicated, but it's honestly really not. These are pretty much, again, duplicates. Don't overcomplicate. It looks scary because there's too much in your eyes at once, but break it down. It's just these two, and then this animation, play animation, and WebSocket command, those are just duplicates. Now, for WebSockets, in case you're wondering why that thing exists, that's because I have a Stream Deck. I use my Stream Deck to toggle all my stuff, because if I toggle with a keyboard, especially since I do Blender stuff, it does become inconvenient for me, so that's why I have a Stream Deck. But if you are a keyboard person, just to kind of like do it here, just to show you, you just basically go to the top left here, just to show you how to make it. Top left, scroll all the way down, click and drag, click on hotkey right here, and then you're going to go down to action nodes here. Scroll all the way down just a little bit to find play animation, and then there'll be a play animation node here. And then you just connect these together. Then you can also click on another node for the stop animation, where if you don't want to use the animation anymore, you can toggle it to stop, basically. And then we'll have, not that one, but basically a hotkey for that. And then, of course, if you want to test it out, you can right-click and send signal, so that way the animation will either stop or it will basically play, basically. Blah. But either way though, I'll go ahead and trigger my setting here. But basically you can of course set up a hotkey so you can do it in numbers basically, like that. So yeah. But either way, that should basically be the simple setup of it in a nutshell. And then pretty much what, just to also show you this before we get into converting your own, VNyan animation files, whether you download an animation file or make your own animations. Before we get to that, just want to show you the node here. We'll also go over this again later on, but I just want to make sure for those who are curious on the node understands this. So basically, we have the animation to play. So if you download an animation from the VNyan community or something, basically you just click on this, and then you can basically, if there's a lot of animations, you can scroll down and basically you can see it. And in case you're wondering, anything that has Mixam with animations, those are the animations I converted. There's also other animations here as well that are from the community, so yeah. But you basically select whichever one you want, and then basically what this is referring to, blend head. If the value is set to 1, that is basically where the animation will override your movement. So basically, let's say, for example, T-pose, let's say, and I were to press the number 1 button. If the value is set to 1, the animation overrides, meaning I cannot move my head. However, the closer it is to 0, my tracking will start working. So pretty much depends on the animation you're going for. So let's say for my for instance, I believe sit cheer, for instance. I have that animation right here. So there's sitting cheer, and I'm able to like move my head, but of course I can't really move my legs or anything like that basically. But basically what you see here is that for stuff like sitting, for instance, I would have it where the head, neck, spine, and hip rotation is set to 0. The root, I have it to 0 so it doesn't override any node related stuff, but basically it's just that in a nutshell. So pretty much, depending on the animation, sometimes it may not be recommended to have all of them at 0s. Sometimes it's recommended to have all of them at 1s. But this is, again, your personal taste. Just mess around with the setting values and then right-click, press signal, or just press your hotkey button. And then that way you can pretty much re-trigger it. So let's say you want to edit some stuff. So here's my animation where my head isn't moving, but then I want it to be halfway. Send signal. My head is moving a little bit, but I want it to track more. Right click, signal, or just press the hotkey again, and then my head tracking will actually work basically. So pretty much do it like that if you want to test out your animations, and that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Now, without further ado though, that should hopefully explain everything about the node. If by any chance that was hard to understand, feel free to rewatch that section explaining the whole thing about the animation node again, so you can familiarize yourself. But again, if you are an absolute beginner watching this tutorial, again, please watch my other tutorials so you can familiarize yourself with VNyan, or join Suvi's Discord server. And again, if by any chance VNyan comes off way too complicated for you, please use VCFace in the meantime. VCFace is made so that way, it's its own program. I recommend it. I like VCFace, so if by any chance VNyan's too complicated, VCFace is there for you. VCFace has always been there for us. But either way, without further ado though, that should pretty much it be for the nodes. Now, let's get over to the VNyan SDK. Now, I will tell you before we get started, when it comes to converting custom animations, whether you download from the internet or you make your own custom animation from scratch for VNyan, I will say you are required to use Unity. I believe the right version is Unity 2020.3.44. I'll be using a different version of Unity. I believe the version I'm using is Unity 2020.3.22 instead, but again, pretty much any version of 2020 should be okay, but recommended Unity 2020.3.44 is recommended for VNyan, or I think it was 40, basically just a Unity 2020 version. If you're using Unity 2021 or Unity 2019 for the VNyan SDK, you are going to run into some issues. So please keep that in mind. Now, besides that, though, if you are someone who really do not want to touch Unity at all, well, then I would not recommend continuing on with this tutorial. I would recommend join Suvi's Discord server, and you can download some pre-existing animations. I also have converted some VNyan, Mixamo animations to VNyan, which you can download in the description below. You can utilize it, use it for free, no credit. You can use it for commercial use. I don't care what you do with those animations. They're Mixamo anyways. So pretty much, I just wanted to at least mention that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and show you where you can actually get some free mocap data so we can convert it into a VNyan animation. Alright, so, pretty much these are going to be some example websites on where you can get some free, animation mocap, basically. Now, do keep in mind there are many other sources, but I just want to list the more popular ones. And again, if you make your own custom animations, you could do that in Blender as long as you export your animation as an FBX file and you're able to convert it into Unity. You set up in Unity and all that. You could do that. I will not be covering how to make custom animation from scratch with Blender, though. If you kind of want a tutorial about that, I already have one regarding VSF SDK's humanoid animation, or humanoid animation stuff tutorial. I'll leave that in the description if you're curious on the workflow for that. But even then, though, that would probably be for more advanced users, honestly. So if you are, again, an absolute beginner, I would not recommend touching Blender unless you're comfortable with Blender. Or again, if you're an advanced user who uses Blender and you know what you're doing, you can definitely utilize it. But either way, we're going to be, for this tutorial, I'll be using some free mocap files from the internet. And don't worry, these animation files can be used commercially. You don't have to credit, it's perfectly fine. It would be nice to credit, but again, it is not required. So basically, again, it depends. Keep that in mind. Depending on where you get your mocap file from, you may have to credit, but others you may not have to. So please check out the copyright rules for the mocap files. But either way, right here we have the most popular one called Mixamo. Mixamo, there's definitely a lot of people use Mixamo. It's pretty easy to get some animations. It's pretty simple, basically. A lot of VRChat people use Mixamo animations, and a lot of game devs also use Mixamo as well. So this is definitely a really great resource when it comes to getting some free animations, basically. So if you want to download an animation, simply click on the animation that you're interested in. Let's say, for example, we want a praying animation here. And you can definitely mess around with the sliders here in case, let's say, the hands are getting too close to each other. You may want to adjust arm space here, so you can fix that. Or you can basically just mess with the settings here and such. I do recommend, though, depending on the animations, though, if by any chance, like, let's say, for instance, there is, like, an ability to, like, lock hips, though, which I'm trying to find an animation for that, but it doesn't seem to be appearing at all. But yeah, so basically, there may be, like, a button that will say, lock at hips, basically. If there's, like, an option for that, I highly recommend please lock the hips. Just for VNyan, at least, unless you really want to move around and all that, but yeah. But either way, and sometimes they may not have the option to do so yeah, it really just depends on the animation, honestly, so just be mindful of that. But either way, once you are, happy with your animation, basically, you can download it here, and basically you can choose the settings here. Personally, for me, I would just stick with 60 frames per second to match, basically VNyan, just so it stays smooth and all that. You could do 30, but just make sure that your VNyan FPS matches so it doesn't look weird or anything like that. But either way, You can choose without. I usually do with it, but since you just need animation, you can do it without, basically. You'll get the FBX file regardless, though, but I'll have it with skin for now. And that's pretty much it. If you need keyframe reduction, you can do that, but honestly, this type of thing is good just to start off with, unless you have specific needs. So go ahead and click on download, and that will basically allow you to basically download. And the same applies to every other website. There is going to be an ability to download the animations and all that, so yeah. And also, I do apologize for my big head. I wasn't even aware during the recording. This is what I mean by the Mixamo settings. By the way, they're right above my head, right there. So yeah, there you go. Now I will put myself back, haha. But either way, so there's Mixamo, but there's other websites you can get some free mocap from. So there is Mocap Market. This is, this is basically a motion library from Perception Neuron, basically. You can get some really nice, free mocap. They got a lot of variety here, and they are free, of course, basically. You could choose them and all that stuff. So definitely, check it out. You will need a Perception Neuron account to get these files, though. If you don't want to make an account, that's fine. You don't have to use it. But if you really want some of the mocap files, you could definitely pick out whichever you want, basically. So yeah. But either way, there is this website. They have pretty good stuff, basically. Then there's another one, Rococo Motion Library, which is another popular one. You will need to get the Rococo software, though, in order to access the Motion Library, because Rococo Studio, they have the options to edit. I think they have options to edit the mocap. I don't remember, but you can download some free mocap here, basically, and there are, commercial use and all that. You can use it however you want, basically, but you just need to get the Rococo program, which, don't worry, though, I will say, it is free. The Rococo software is free, so if you're only using it for Motion Library, you can get it for free. You can even pay for certain mocap files as well. And do note also that Motion Library assets, they're not just made with Rococo. Some of these mocap files, they are made with XNs or higher quality mocap suits, and they're just basically given to the community, basically. So keep that in mind. You're probably going to get some pretty high quality stuff there. But again, really depends on your taste, though. But yeah, so that's definitely something to take a look at if you're interested. And then, of course, you can just Google it. Yeah, I'm going to tell you to just Google it. Okay, sorry about that. But either way, yeah, you can also just Google free mocap data. So example, on Google, I typed in free 3D mocap data. And boom, I got a couple results on where to get some mocap data. There's also, you could just say free mocap data, for instance, and still get plenty of results, basically. Do keep in mind, though, that when you are going to be Googling mocap data, there are going to be some files, like some mocap data that are used for research purposes, because there are research that goes on with mocap data, whether it's for AI mocap or other stuff, basically. But just keep that in mind if you're trying to find some free mocap data. So yeah, but either way, though, those are pretty much just examples on where you can get some free mocap data, or you could just, again, hand animate your own stuff, basically. So yeah. But either way, I've already downloaded, as you just saw me did, I downloaded a Mixamo animation, so we're going to convert that animation into a VNyan animation format, basically. And we're going to transition over into Unity, so that way you can learn how to make your own VNyan animation file. So let's get to that. Alright, so now we're going to convert a Mixamo animation over to VNyan. Now I will say, pretty much this applies, you can apply your knowledge to your own custom from scratch animation, or a different animation from a different site like Perception Neuron, or Rococo Motion Library, or anything else, basically. So I just wanted to make sure that is elaborated. But we're going to use a Mixamo animation just as an example. But again, apply your knowledge. Apply your knowledge meaning take what I learned and apply it to your own situation in case you don't know what that means. Now, you are going to be needing Unity version 2020. I think the specific version for VNyan is either Unity 2020.3.44 or 40, I think, whichever number it was. But I'll leave in the description the Unity downloads in case you are curious or you don't know where to get them. They'll be in the description below. You will also be needing the VNyan SDK as well. The VNyan SDK, basically where you download VNyan, there will be an SDK under the download for VNyan, so go ahead and download it from there. Now, without further ado though, if there's any other questions from here on out, please let me know in the comments if you're confused. But again, I will also say this isn't for absolute beginners. If you're an absolute beginner at Unity or VNyan, I don't recommend attempting this. Please take the time to learn the basic UI of VNyan as well as the basic UI of Unity before attempting this tutorial. Now, without further ado, let's actually begin. So, we're going to make a folder for the animation. So we're going to right click on create. Now you may not be able to see some parts of my screen because I have OBS Windows Capture because I don't want to accidentally show something on accident. You know, I don't want to dox myself or anything like that. So I will video edit screenshots of some parts I am referring to when I right click, because every time I right click something and some things pop up, they may not appear. So right click in the assets, they'll be on the top, it'll say create. There'll be an arrow pointing. You're going to click on folder and you're going to make a new folder. It could be wherever you want. I'm going to call it anim test, but you can name it wherever you want. In this folder, you're going to click and drag from your file explorer. You are going to import the FBX file for whichever your animation is, whether you make it from scratch, whether it's from Rococo, whether it's from Perception Neuron, anywhere else, as long as it's an FBX animation. I don't think BVH animations are supported in Unity, so you're going to have to convert it into FBX. If you, by any chance, have a BVH file that you really want, you're going to have to use Blender or an equivalent program, such as Maya, to convert the animation from BVH to FBX. So keep that in mind, it has to be FBX. Once you have that, you're going to go ahead and click the character here or whichever your animation is. You're going to set the rig, so you're going to go to the rig tab and you're going to click on generic and swap it to humanoid. Now if you're using the Mixamo model here, it should automatically register it properly. If you're using a custom model, you may need to do some configuration depending on if issues pop up, but for the most part it should automatically be detected basically. If it's your own from scratch, like if it's still your own character like Vroy Booth, your own from scratch character, wherever the heck the model came from, you're animating with that model and you're importing into Unity and you want to like extract that file, you'll have to probably do some configuration just so the animation doesn't get hecked up, but you should be fine. You don't need to. Now I don't think VNyan injection animation node supports blend shapes. I could be wrong about that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it supports blend shapes. So if you absolutely need blend shapes with your tracking or like the animation itself, I would probably recommend use the VSF SDK. I have another dedicated tutorial on VSF SDK humanoid animation tutorials if you really want that, because I don't think it'll support blend shape, but in case if it does end up supporting blend shapes, and I could be wrong, if the animation has blend shapes at all, go to model and make sure your legacy blend shape normals are enabled so you can kind of see it, but even then it really wouldn't matter honestly. This is more of like an extra you can do just to make sure, but honestly it doesn't matter because all you pretty much need is just a keyframe animation that needs to go into VNyan basically. So just want to make sure, but that's in case like I guess you're doing some, you know, if you want to do some blend shape edits in Unity and you want to make sure everything looks good if you're editing in Unity, but for the most part you don't need to do that. But you pretty much just need to have the rig set to humanoid. And I will say also, so if I click the arrow here, right, and we have the animation here. So basically, if you want to access the animation settings, just click on the character and go to the animation tab here, and you can access some animation settings here. If you want to make your animation loopable, make sure to click on loop time and apply it. Otherwise, if you don't want it loopable, then make sure that this is disabled. But I'm going to have it so it's loop time, and then I'm going to click on apply, and it should make it so that way this animation is set to loopable. You can see at the bottom here, which I am kind of slightly covering. Also, just to hide myself real here because I have a big head. Basically what I'm referring to, the apply, it's right here in the bottom right. So, you know, if you loop and then there's the apply button right here. Or you could revert to the original changes or the original settings. But basically here there is the animation. You can click on play to make sure everything is looking good basically. So yeah, and if you see anything weird, then you can, of course, adjust it. But again, with Unity, it's really hard to adjust humanoid animations. So I would recommend, personally, I use Blender or Maya. If you're using Maya, but Blender is free, better. So if you want to adjust your humanoid animation, I prefer Blender. I believe there is a way of adjusting the humanoid animation in Unity, but there is a hard way of doing it, and then there's another way, which is a paid way, which I do not have that add-on, so I will not be covering how to do that. So I would recommend, if you have to do some very specific adjustments, just utilize Blender, I guess. But I will not be going over that crazy stuff. That's more for a specific situation. It really depends on what you want to do, basically. Now, besides that though, once you have that done, what we're going to do is we are going to have to create 2 game objects. Now, in case you don't know what a game object is, or just like an empty prefab, I call it game object. Some people can call it empty prefab. There's too many different names. I'll call it game object, but basically it's a type of invisible prefab that allows us to place some random stuff. Basically, so that way we could properly export with the VNyan SDK. So basically on the hierarchy, so this right here is a hierarchy, right here, the one that's moving. We're going to make injected animation. So we're going to right click and we're going to click on create empty, which I will have video edited where you can find, or how it looks like when I right click. So it's going to be here. And I'm going to name this test animation right here. So there'll be a test prefab, and I'm going to make sure that the position on the transform above me is set to 0, 0, 0. That way it's perfectly in the center, like above my head. And then basically we're going to right click again and make another one. We're going to create another empty here, and we're going to name this Prey, because that's the animation, but you can call it whatever you want, waving and all that. Now, of course, I will say this as well. The benefit of this method is, like, for instance, here's my other prefab, by the way. I have one that's from Example Animation, which you can download in the description below if you want these animations for free. You don't have to credit. It can be used for commercial use. I don't care. But basically, you can see how there are multiple animations here, basically. That's the reason why I have you set up the test animation the way it is, because as you get more advanced with VNyan, you can definitely actually like mass export multiple animations all at once, and that's what I did here. There's a lot of animations here, and you can pretty much do the same thing for your own setup, so you can do that. So you can add as many as you want. But we're going to focus on the Prey game object here, or the empty prefab, and basically we're going to add a component, and we're going to type in VNyan injected, and then basically there'll be the VNyan injected anim. So you'll copy this name and you're going to load it here. Now you're going to name your animation to whoever you want. I'm going to name it Prey, and then there is going to be an animation clip, basically. And on the animation clip, you're going to basically make sure that on your model here, there is the triangle, which is referring to the animation. You're going to click and drag that over to the animation clip, basically. And that's pretty much how you will basically set up a VNyan animation. And then all you really have to do is pretty much select the test here, or wherever the main parent prefab is. Again, you can export as many as you like. Like, it could be like this. There could be like 3 different animations here. As long as they have the VNyan injected anim component on each of them, you could do that. Now, once you are basically done setting up your animations, multiple and all that, you're going to click on the main prefab here, and then you're going to go to VNyan SDK on the top screen, which I'll make sure there's a screenshot. You're going to export injected anim, and then you are going to export it in the VNyan animations folder. And in case you don't know where that is, I will also leave another screenshot showing where exactly can you find it. And again, it depends on where you place VNyan in your folder, but there is an animation folder inside the VNyan folder, so depends on where you can find it. It will be there. You have to export there. Otherwise, VNyan will not detect it. Now, besides that, though, that's pretty much it. And then there'll be a pop-up showing you, which you can't see, but there'll be a pop-up showing basically if the animation did export or not. If there's an error, please recheck your steps, or you can join Suvi's Discord server to ask questions or report an issue, basically. I do recommend also, by the way, with your project, your Unity project, basically, all you pretty much need just for the animation is just a VTuber SDK. You don't need to import UniVRM, you don't need to import the VSF SDK, you don't need all that. The only reason why I have these is because this Unity project file is basically made specifically for me, so I can basically export multiple stuff, whether my props or my animation, my poses, or other crazy stuff that I do. So that's why you see those other files there, but no, you only just need the VTuber SDK in the Unity project folder, and that's pretty much it. If you have any other crazy custom scripts in your Unity project file, it may explain why it's not exporting properly, but for the most part, you should be fine though. But either way though, let's get on to VTuber. That way we could be able to use the animation inside VTuber. Alright, so now we're in VTuber, so let's go ahead and set up our animation node. Now, I of course went over this earlier, but I will still re-show it, just in case you skipped that part for some reason. But either way, we're going to go into our node graph here, and again, I will show again. This is where you actually have to put the VN file, so that way it can be detected in VTuber. If you didn't do that, it will probably not show up in VTuber, so please make sure that the VN file is located in the animation folder of VTuber so VTuber can detect it. Now, without further ado, basically you're going to click on add new graph, which I have a new graph here. You're going to go ahead, for keyboard people, you can actually use hotkey. If by any chance you want to use it for Stream Deck, I have a tutorial on that, but basically you're going to use a hotkey and you're going to load two hotkey nodes here, nodes. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go to Action Nodes, scroll down, and find the Play Animation node here. Make sure it's right here, and then you're going to have Stop Animation here. So basically, you will go ahead and connect these, click and drag, so we can have the nodes set up, so that way we can get toggling. Now go ahead and set your hotkey by pressing the Set Hotkey button. I'll set mine to number 1 and the other one to number 2, but you may want to change it to your numpad or Control Shift and whatever number or letter that you want. That way, if you're typing a number or a letter, it won't get easily triggered. So basically, what you're going to do now pretty much is for the animation, depending on what it is, you want to probably mess with these sliders. Usually I would have it where the head, neck, and spine would be set to 0, but you may want to change that depending on the animation. You may want all of them set to 1, or certain parts can be in between. You don't have to choose 0 or 1. This can actually just be in between, basically, like this. So it's all good. And basically, as you can basically see, I'm able to have the praying animation, and then I can also do this, so I can change the arm angle a bit more, like that. There you go, see? So I kind of like fix up the arm animation away just by lowering the values a little bit more. So yeah, pretty much, that's pretty much how you will be able to get the animation working. Mess with the settings. You can even change the transition of the animation, so that way it's more smoother, basically. So there's that. Or just changing the smoothness of the animation. Pretty nice. Smoothness. And then of course, if you want to disable leap motion, you know, because sometimes with leap motion they will have some pretty weird fingers, so please make sure you disable leap motion after motion if you ever see some weird finger issues with your animations. That way your fingers can get fixed, basically. So yeah, and pretty much you can, you know, click on your animation, select whichever ones. If you're using my animations, then you can select on the Mixamo animations or whichever ones that you made for yourself. But that's pretty much in a nutshell how you set up the animation node. You can of course duplicate the nodes here, that way you can use it for that way you can actually use multiple different animations, like this one, sit on a chair, which is the default. So I can set it to be 3. So that way, basically I can have it where I can be sitting, or I can basically do praying. So I can transfer animations between each other, or stop the animation. So yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell how you will be able to set up your animation node inside VTuber, and that's also in a nutshell how you can, different mocap, where you can get different free mocap on the internet, as well as also where you can actually, basically how you can make your own custom VTuber animations using the VTuber SDK. I hope that this tutorial has helped you out on understanding the stuff that you could do with VTuber regarding animations. Let me know if you have any other issues. I'll leave my socials here. I highly recommend please join Vtubers Discord server, as you can learn so much more about VTuber and definitely become a master at it, basically. But either way, though, that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you again. Comment down your questions. Although I do recommend, if you could DM me on Discord, please. I don't recommend joining my Discord server. I'd rather you just add me as a friend on Discord, so that way you can actually DM me, because for the most part on my Discord server, I'm the one who answers all the 3D questions. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say, though. Thank you guys again, and that's pretty much all for me. See you guys next time. Bye bye.